Hi, welcome back to Leading from the Basement. I'm Jeremy, down in the basement. And before we get started, take just a minute, please, and click that subscribe button, click the like button, and click that notification bell so you'll get all the latest updates. Today, we're going to talk about one big secret that I think most of us as managers don't understand. And if we get a handle on this, this can have a huge impact on our ability to manage the performance of our folks. Now, I do want to give credit to Harold D. Stolovich and Erica J. Keeps for this great book. It's called Training Ain't Performance. It's the follow-up to their first book, Telling Ain't Training. Both excellent books. You should own both of them. And I'm going to reference the work of Peter Dean. Also, it's cited in this book. But he did a very interesting study back in the 90s. And what he did is he surveyed about 1,000 employees. And he asked them, okay, what are the things that keep you from being a top performer? And they came up with these lists, right? Big long list. If we were to list it out, there's probably, dozens of things that they came up with that kept them from being top performers. But then he took it a step further and he said, okay, of these blockers or barriers, things that keep you from being a top performer, which ones are internal or individual and which ones are external or environmental? Another way of thinking about that is which of these blockers are your fault? Okay, those are the internal and individual, which are not your fault, external, environmental. And they broke it out this way. Okay, the employees said 75% of the barriers or blockers that keep them from being top performers are environmental or not their fault or outside of their control. 75%. They only said 25% were their fault. Interesting. Well, then Dean took this a little further and he interviewed managers and he asked the same question. He said, hey, come up with a list of things that keep your employees from being top performers. And they came up with a list too. And then he asked them the same question. Which of these barriers or blockers are individual or internal or the employee's fault versus environmental or external or not the employee's fault? Now, these are the managers he's surveying. So what do you think they said? Whenever I ask this in a class, people assume that the managers are going to say just the opposite, right? Oh, it's 75% the employee's fault and 25% not their fault. Well, it kind of trended that way, but not the way you think. When he surveyed the managers, they said 58% of the barriers that they identified were external or environmental. 58%. And they said 42% are individual or internal. Or in other words, even the managers said 58% of the barriers are not the employee's fault. And only 42% of those barriers are the employee's fault. Now, this is interesting for a couple reasons. Number one, though there's some difference, we've got a difference of 58% to 75%, but in both cases, both the employees and the managers saw a majority of the barriers or blockers came from the environment, not from the individual. That's pretty amazing. And it's amazing for this reason. When performance is not where it should be, where's the first place we as leaders always look? Don't we always look at the employee and think, what are they doing wrong? What can we change about their behavior? What can we do to motivate them to do a better job? According to this, the first place we should be looking is the environment. I think that's a big part of leadership. Identifying the systems or the processes or the environment that's in place that might be making it difficult for our folks to get their jobs done. And that means our job as leaders, maybe even before we start poking at them to make them work harder or whatever, maybe the first thing we need to be doing is cleaning up our own backyard. Maybe the first thing we need to be doing is ensuring that they have the tools they need, ensuring that they have the environment necessary in which they can be successful. And I'll promise you this, if you can make that switch to where you're first looking at environmental issues instead of first going straight to the agents, you'll see a difference, because you'll see you're able to start to improve some of those environmental issues, which will in turn impact the performance. And your employees will appreciate the fact that you're trying to get obstacles out of the way. You're trying to make their jobs easier for them. And this all ties into the concept of servant leadership, right? Our employees don't work for us. We work for them. So what do you think of this? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Please take a minute, leave a comment. And if you haven't subscribed, take a minute and do so. And we'll see you next time on Leading from the Basement. Bye-bye.